Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I want to share with you a few thoughts. I haven't talked about GME for quite some time. I think it's time to dive a little bit more into that because I do have a position in GME. I really don't mind adding more where things are at right now. Actually, I think that the risk reward ratio is pretty decent. But I'm going to kind of go through some of my charts and my thoughts as well as going through some of Danny's chart here. If you don't know, I have a friend. His name is Danny Chang. He has these proprietary system here that is pretty easy to read in terms of trend and levels. And he has been quite successful. He has a Patreon. He basically posts all of these charts there for his Patreon members to look at. And because I'm his friend, I also get to take a look at this. I also frequently collaborate with him. And I, like this weekend, I think I probably made this is my 8th video this weekend. I shared 2 of them with my members, but 5 of them are going to be exclusive to his Patreon because they are his charts. And I'm just basically trying to help out a friend here. So as a result, I get access to these things. And here's the GME chart, which basically kind of orient you here in the system. I'm going to talk about my own charts here in a second, but on the daily chart here, for his system, it's pretty simple. If you want to be a day trader and trade in and out, you can look at the lower time frame. If you want to more just be more consistent and be more of a higher time frame person or cats, then you can look at these higher time frame charts here on the weekly and the monthly. I'm going to go through them all here without going through them too tediously. First of all, Danny's system tells you whether or not you're in a bull trend or a bear trend. Is very simple. There are only a couple things you need to know. One is whether or not you got a bullish red ribbon here, and price is above the red ribbon is bullish. If price broke underneath the red ribbon, and if it turns in from a red ribbon here to a blue ribbon here, is bearish, right? You have a hard time, breaking the trend here. You can see how it's just been decelerating here in terms of, it's just been going down here in terms of price. And you can also see that initially you have a lot of Welsh momentum here on the daily time frame, with Welsh momentum going all the way upwards to like the 80s. And next thing you know, things just look a little bit tired. And I'm going to tell you why things look tired, because this move all the way from this area over here to this area over here was happening on a little bit of exhaustion, isn't it? RSI seems to be going down here when price goes up. That tells you that I think that this slight lower time frame bull trend is cooling off, and that's exactly what it's doing right now. Well, guess what's happening right now? We don't have that bearish divergence anymore, right? Where price gone up and RSI gone down, right? That's not good, right? Well, what do we have? Where price going down here and RSI going up, right? We have the other way around, right? So this is something to take into consideration here. But one very important thing here is you still have a blue ribbon. We've had the first chance of attack to try to break about the blue ribbon here. We weren't able to because we also have these volume shelf resistance here. These are also proprietary system of Danny's. They call this the chip system. It's just they just weren't able to break through. It just didn't have no momentum to kind of break through, right? So we end up making another leg lower, but this leg lower, it really does seem like the bearish momentum is really decelerated. I guess is what I'm trying to say. With that said, we still have a bearish signal here. Danny's chart have these red candles and yellow candles. Generally, yellow candle leans bearish. Red candle means bullish. Some people even use these yellow and red candles to trade. Some people even buy the red candles and sell the yellow candles. And that could be a profitable strategy, but none of this is financial advice, of course. But you can see how it's been a downtrend and the yellow candle is still in place, right? So it's still a downtrend until further notice on the daily time frame. And you are losing a lot of Welsh momentum. You are gaining a lot of retail momentum. Panel 2 here is still showing that there's still a significant downtrend here because the green ribbon is still in place, right? It's not purple, it's green. You are starting to have a little bit of a potential wish to do trend change because the green light over here, which is bearish, has decelerated and looks like it wants to turn into these red lights over here, but it hasn't really been able to do that quite just yet. MACD has been going sideways, it's trendless. RSI has been going sideways, it's trendless, but you're building up some bullish divergence here on the daily time frame. Right when the blue ribbon is not as downward sloping, is not as thick as it was over here, right? You're still going to have resistance level around 27 and 29. I don't think this is going to just end up V-shaping and just end up pushing a lot higher. But you also have to take into context here, what is happening during this period of time? The macro sucks, right? What do you mean that macro sucks? Macro actually doesn't suck per se, but everybody's saying that macro sucks. And the QQQ has been going down straight for like 3 weeks, right? When GME is holding okay and is actually developing some bullish divergence here. So what are we talking about here? Is because GME is holding so much cash that it can weather any storm in recessions and whatnot? Or is it just simply that different stocks are rotating in different areas and what had already started a downtrend here may be decelerating when they're correcting other things and when you're having a little bit of rotationary pressure coming in, right? I don't know, right? But that's the daily chart that I'm showing here. Now on the weekly chart, you can also see how price is trying to break above the volume shelf here, but has a hard time doing that. It ended up breaking above here, but it was also happening, I was showing you too earlier, right? It was happening on a little bit of a daily bearish divergence that simply just needed to cool down here. That's exactly what it's doing right now, is cooling down. The red ribbon is still in place. We broke down underneath the red ribbon over here a little bit, but hey, we just ended up breaking back above, right? We are oscillating on the weekly here with the ribbon. Overall, what are we doing? We're forming higher highs and higher lows, right? This is a higher low compared to that. We are broken underneath the red ribbon here. Is that something that's super concerning? Not necessarily. I do want to say that because it is very much of a trendless going sideways, but overall forming higher highs and higher lows, that it's just consolidating sideways, building up energy. I'm going to show you why none of these things really matter because there's no volume. I'm going to show you that here in a second. But on top of that, you do have a very interesting finding here. This is called a volatility black hole. This volatility black hole over here basically means that volatility is coming. If it breaks down underneath this black hole over here, price drops below 22.5, somewhere around there, then price could end up plummeting down, right? If it breaks above this volatility black hole zone over here, let's say the price gets above 30, that means that GME can move from here, right? So here, a little bit harder to read here on a lower time frame. How are you gonna reconcile that? Well, let's look at a higher time frame. Let's look at a monthly. What has the monthly done so far? I'll tell you exactly what the monthly has done so far. We don't have that Danny red candle stamp on GME yet. We just don't have that stamp yet. I think it's waiting for a few things because it's just been a vicious downtrend for a very long time. We are correcting. We are basically turning this big giant blue ribbon over here into a bullish red ribbon, right? Price has gone back above of that and is basically just back testing the red ribbon, right? When you have a resistance zone turning into support, is not bearish. I think that this is a trend change that is necessary, and I think the red candle probably is just a matter of time because we have flipped the ribbon from resistance here back into support. But nothing is guaranteed. If you want to wait for Danny's red candle before buying, I think that's a reasonable approach. But I just cannot ignore this beautiful push through of his EMA ribbon of the blue ribbon here and turning it to red, and I cannot ignore the fact that is on top of it right now. I can also not ignore the fact that this bearish green ribbon is turning more and more flat, and that you have the red lights are starting to come back on, signaling a potential trend change. I cannot ignore the fact that over the last year and a half, there is a change in, last year and a half, there's a change in trend here with retail momentum decreasing and Welsh momentum increasing. It's been forming higher highs and higher lows here too, right? Whereas the retail momentum has been forming lower highs and lower lows, right? I cannot ignore the fact that the MACD is looking like it wants to cross back to the positive territory and that you had a bullish cross here about a year ago, right? RSI has just been trendless. It's just waiting for something to happen. It's building up a lot of energy. What's going to happen next? By the way, if you enjoyed Danny's system, he charts everything. Like, he literally charts everything that's stock related. He doesn't chart crypto because his system won't allow him to do that. But his proprietary system has actually helped a lot of people. It also does help influence my thinking, even though I don't always follow his red candle or yellow candle. It does help influence my thinking. And it's not just about the yellow candle or red candle. It also has a lot more to do with, like, you know, everything else. All the other panels actually also mean something, right? My GME chart here, look at it weekly. What is it doing? It's just oscillating around this zone over here. Sometimes it breaks above, sometimes it breaks below, sometimes it breaks above, sometimes it breaks below. It's been a meaningless chop so far, right? How do you reconcile this? The way you reconcile this, I think volume is going to be what matters the most. You can see how you just have a little bit of volume coming in and price just push all the way from like the teens up to like the 60s, right? All it takes is just some volume coming in. Have we had any volume going on with GME right now? No, we've had no volume here going on for about 9 months now, 8 or 9 months now. No volume at all. When you do have volume, when you have an uptrend, it's on some slightly increasing volume. When you have a downtrend, it's on slightly declining volume here. Uptrend over here, increasing volume. Downtrend, declining volume, right? These are generally signs for accumulation. And they can have these kind of accumulation with like dark pool over the counter, things like that. Like the institutions, they just accumulate, you don't even know it. Like, you just don't even know it. It's just been no volume here at all. It's just been sideways chop, but the volume is telling me that this is a reaccumulation zone, right? If I look at the monthly chart here, if in the monthly chart, all I have to do is just to pull up the Bollinger Band, and you can see that what the monthly chart is doing is just that the cycle here seems to be slower than the last cycle. Last cycle, what happened last cycle? 20-month moving average very negatively sloped, right? Push through a couple candles, back test, mooned. Burnout after like 6, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Burnout after 6 monthly candles to the upside. Is this cycle doing that? No. This cycle is doing it a little bit more systematic way. We are having a trend change, right? Because the 20-month moving average, again, when it flipped from resistance here to support, that's when you have a bull trend, right? What happened so far? We flip it from resistance here to support, right? There's no doubt about that. There's very, very little doubt about this. It's been flipped from resistance here to support. And after flipping from resistance to support, it's been forming a high here and it's trying to form a higher low. How low is the low going to get? Does it have to come all the way down to 20? Is possible. Does it look like it wants to do that right now? No, not necessarily. Even a downtrend here has no volume, right? And and the macro, like all these bears out there talking, like, how can you even be in a stock like GME? Well, that's one way to think about it. The other way to think about it is like, that's exactly why you want to look at a stock like GME, because it's telling you that maybe things are not that scary, right? Because it looks like it is just wanting to kind of expand the monthly Bollinger Band here, and the 20-month moving average is still curling up. It looks like this still wants to flip into an overall bull trend, and that there's still going to be more bullish continuation moving forward, right? And this zone over here may not be a bad buying zone because of that, right? That's pretty much it. Like, I can show you a lot of other things. I can show you a lot of other volume signature. Let me turn off the volume here. I can show you, let's see, like unbalanced volume. And you know that they've been tricking you. You know that they've been tricking you. And there probably is some like over-the-counter dark pool buying that you're not really seeing here. That's not going to move the price, but end up having shares transferring from the poor to the rich, and the rich is going to get richer. Why? Because there's a lot of imbalance of volume here, right? last time you have a downtrend like this, you have increasing in unbalanced volume, right? This is what you call a bullish divergence, right? Price going down, unbalanced volume going up, and it reversing the trend pretty nicely, right? What's happening right now? They're doing the same thing again. Price going down for months now, right? Since December. What's unbalanced volume doing is going up, right? They just keeps on doing this over and over again, right? If you're looking at the daily here, I guess it's not as obvious here if you just look at this, but if you look at a little bit zooming out here, you can see how price has just been going down from November to current price, right? It went from like the high 20s to like the mid 20s, low 20s, right? During the entire time, the balance is unbalanced volume is up. Bullish divergence, right? Bullish divergence. I'm not making this up. So because of that, I actually find that the risk-reward ratio here is pretty decent too. Finally, I'm just gonna talk about a few things here. I'm gonna be done here. First of all, you have all these different resistance and support, zones. Initially, I was looking more like the Ichimoku. It's just been trendless, right? It's still having a hard time bringing about the cloud. Still having a hard time bringing about the Technical. Not like last cycle where liquidity just kind of pushed up and everything just kind of pushed up a lot higher, right? I do want to look and see what happened last cycle. During this big giant push up here, global liquidity has already been building up for a very long time. It looks like it wants to just keep on pushing price up with a lot of different stocks, including GME, right? Once it gets up to the point where global liquidity is just like a lot more energy has been built up, it's just end up pushing the cloud, just end up going a lot higher. This cycle is a little bit different because I think this cycle over here, where are we at right now compared to that in terms of global liquidity? We just simply had I'm going to draw this here and it's going to give you a little bit better idea in terms of what I'm talking about. Over here, we just kind of broke above this horizontal resistance level of global liquidity. And whenever it breaks above, GME took months to build up momentum to have that big giant move up, right? Here, we already had the initial impulse. Right? Where we have a little bit of a trend change here on the 20-month moving average, right? We already have a trend change as has happened over here. And right now we have a back test of global liquidity, and that's exactly what it's doing. It's back testing the horizontal zone right here, right? And also back testing the 20-month moving average over here, right? So I think we're doing it in a little bit more of a systematic way. If you think about this area over here with low volume, it's very similar to like this volume over here. Then the big move up, if global liquidity and just keep pushing up like that, the big move up hasn't even happened yet for GME, right? It hasn't even happened yet for GME. But of course, that's just speculation, right? All it takes is just volume to come in, and that hasn't come in yet. And the trend is saying that if the volume comes in, because this is a bull trend, it's going to end up doing some pretty, bullish things. I don't have anything else to say. Ichimoku still underneath resistance, is still building up energy. I still need volume to come in. I still need global liquidity to come in, right? If you look at all time frame, even the weekly is still under. It broke above the Ichimoku, broke back underneath of it. It's a little bit meaningless. I'm waiting for volume. If you're looking at a lower time frame kind of thing, it's also just been oscillating around the 20-week moving average. A little bit meaningless, right? Sometimes it's underneath, sometimes it's above. If it's underneath on declining volume, it's going to break back above. If it's underneath below the 20-week on declining volume, it's probably going to end up breaking above. Like, there's really not much else to really say here. I'm going to, volume is king. Global liquidity is king. Wellish momentum is king. And higher time frame is king. Right. I cannot ignore this trend change, and I cannot ignore that a lot of energy is being built up here on low volume. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to all this gibberish here. But if you want to, I just made like 8 videos today using Danny's charts. I'm going to share a lot of them exclusively with him. So if you want to see, like just hear me yapping about different charts like QQQ, Tesla, Palantir, and a bunch of other charts too. I was talking to him about like Lemonade or like, about a few other charts here I find to be pretty bullish, and I share of all this with his Patreon, and also share some of these charts here on Danny's charts here on like the Chinese market, things like that. So if you're interested in those kinds of things. There's additional resources. I just want to kind of talk about GME here in public because I haven't really done that for a while. This video might not do very well. I don't really care. I just want to share my thoughts because I still am bullish on GME when people don't care anymore. Anyway, take care, guys. Bye.